Hey guys, Omerko here, self-taught web developer. TypeScript as a superset of JavaScript is quite successful in recent years. Even technologies like Angular and Nest.js rely on TypeScript as their, scripting language. Obviously, TypeScript is driven by types, so in this video I wanted to show you 7 examples of using types in TypeScript. This will include primitive types, arrays, and object types, as well as interface or so-called custom types in TypeScript that we can use. These simple examples should provide you enough resources to get to know types and use them properly while working with TypeScript. To start now, I only have this types.ts file where I will assign my types. So for my first example, I will first create my let of username and I will set it equal to string of Stefan, as that is my first name. If I would just below try to reassign this username, so username, and set it equal to, for example, number of 24, now we will immediately have an error. If we would hover over our username, we would see the error of type number is not assignable to type string. TypeScript and my Visual Studio Code are smart enough to say that my initial string, this Stefan, its value, should stay as a string value and not be reassigned to some other type as a number here. To show you a clearer example now, I will create another let of channel name and I will set the type here, using a colon, to a string, and I will set its initial value again to Stefan. Now, if I would try to reassign this channel name property and I set it equal to 24, we would see the same issue here, same error. Basically, our channel name will hold an error of type number is not assignable to type string. As we pre-assigned our type here of string, it expects that this property channel name should always hold a string as a value. So here assigning a number to it won't work. So for this property to work, I will have to use channel name and set it equal to a string, for example, of my channel name Omerko. Now we don't see any issues here. Now let's say that I have some let of authenticated, and this is a type of boolean. So I should set this, for example, to a false value. Boolean can only have true or false values. If I would try to use my authenticated now and reassign it to a value of null, this will work, as TypeScript will allow null to be passed for values, so they don't hold any value assigned to their specific type. If I would try once again to reassign this property, so authenticated, and now I would set it to true, this will again work because its initial type is a boolean, so boolean will accept true or false values. To confirm that, we can assign again this property of authenticated to set it equal to a string of Omerko, and here we would have an error. The similar error as before, as the type string is not assignable to type of boolean. Now let's move to our arrays. I will create here the array of numbers, so let of numbers, and I will set its type to be number array. So I need to pass the array here to specify the type. I will also set its initial values to numbers from 1 to 5. So 1, 2, then 3, 4, and 5, and that's good enough. Now let's try to assign a different value to this array, to this numbers property. And here I will try to use my numbers property and assign number of 22. I do have an error here. So even if my value is a number, it cannot be assigned to a type of number array, as it says here. So type of number is not assignable to type of number array. The same will be if we would try to use a string here. So for example, numbers set equals to a string of Stefan. This will again show us the error because the string type is not assignable to a type of number array. But for example, if I would pass a numbers here and I would set it equal to array of 1, 2, 3, and then fourth value will be Stefan as a string, and then 5, we will have a similar error here. And the error will say that the type of string is not assignable to type of number, not number array. Well, as we are using the numbers as a number array, each of these values inside should represent a number. So as this is a string, it is not the number type, which it obviously must be. So now if I would use a proper array like numbers and I will set it equal to 1, 2 and 3, this will properly work here. Now let's work with objects a bit. Let's say that I have an object of user and the type of it should be an object. Let's also say that this object should include properties like name, and this property of name should be a string type, and also an age, which should be a number type. Now let me also set the values here. So here I will set this equal to, and immediately we can see an error here because the type of object, which is our user, is missing the following properties from type and this specific type. As we assigned our user to hold a specific type of object, it should also expect this name and age values inside. So until we pass those two values, the user itself won't be valid at all. So basically here, if I set my name to be Stefan and my age to be 24, then this user will be valid and it won't show us the error in our Visual Studio Code. For example, if I would try to reassign this user to just the string of Stefan, here we will obviously have an error because the type of string is not assignable to this object type, which should include our name and age properties. Same will go if we try to assign our user to an array of, let's say, first value should be Stefan, and then we could have our 24. This is still an error because it is the array of string and the number, and also it is missing the properties from our object. Now, if I would try to assign my user as an object here, and I use my name as a proper name of Stefan, and I use my age here as a 24, but let's put those 24 in a string, here we will still have an error because this age, it is a string and it should be a number basically. So let's use this properly now. Here I will use my user and set it equal to an object, and here I could set two values, my age and my name. My code editor, Visual Studio Code, is smart enough because I already here specified my types and properties for that type, like a name and age, and here it expects those two properties, so I could use these two immediately here and not manually type those. So here name could be Omerko and age here could be, let's say, 30, and this is a proper user object. We can also use our custom models or interfaces. I will here create the interface of a user, and here I will set it as a, well, it looks similarly to an object. First property here that should be expected in a user interface will be my name, which should be the type of a string, and also my age, which should be type of a number. Now, down below, if I would create my property of new user, and I would set its type to my user type that I just created here, my interface here, I could set it equal to something here. This something should be again my name and age, because this pre-built interface of user should expect a name and age property. So here, if I would use my name, I could pass Stefan for it, and here age of 24, this should work correctly. If I would try to reassign this new user, like here, new user, let me scroll down a bit so you could see it better, and I use here just the string of Stefan, this again won't work because the new user should be our, well, should hold two properties of name and age. And if we would hover over that, we could see that the type of string, which is this Stefan down below, it is not assignable to type of user here. So even though the user is looking as an object here, the user itself is its own type. It is a custom type or interface. Same will go if we try to reassign the values of new user to be an object here, and we will put the name of Stefan and age to be again string of 24. This is still an issue because the age itself, obviously it got the string value and it expects number value, because in our user model we predefined that our age itself should hold the number value inside. Now let's again create our proper new user and set it equal to, well, the name will be Omerko and here age will be 24, and this is good enough. For my last example, I will show you a highly used type in TypeScript, which is a double-edged sword. And yes, we can more easily code with it, but also we can more easily make mistakes with it. And usually this is a result of lazy coding. I will create here a property of player, and here I will use the type on it to be any. This any type will allow us to use, well, any value and assign any value to our player property. So for example, if I would set my player to be equal to a string of Stefan, there is no error at all. Down below, if I would change my player now to be a number of 30, still no error. If I would set my player now to be an object with the name of Stefan and age property of 24, still there is no error. Okay, so you can think of, well, I can just assign all of my properties to be any and that will be, well, great. No, if you use any property extensively and you, for example, mistype something, the program won't know that it should show you an error, and that error obviously exists. So you will end up breaking stuff. Let's say that you wish to have a player property here, which is an object, and here for a name we could again pass Stefan and age could be 24. Now let's say that you have this player in your application and you wish to save it in your database. And for example, if you used, as we used here, any type, and you, for example, mistype something like this, a name to double E at the end, this here will be saved incorrectly in your database, or at least it won't go through your validation of it. So at this point there should be an error, as saving names in a database should never be mistyped and should hold proper value, obviously. With this type of any, there won't be an error, as you can see, and you would save an invalid user or a player, well, in your database. So using this on a real-life project could cause many issues, not just with properties like names, but with the specific IDs that you, well, wish to use. It can definitely end up breaking stuff. So make sure to always assign proper types. For this example, our object type or our interface. Now, TypeScript itself has other types that you can use, and it also supports different handling of those types. As this was a basic introduction to those, I didn't go through all of those. But here on this web page you can find some basic types and how to handle those. And on this there are advanced types and also how to handle those. And now don't worry, both of these links you will find down in the description of this video. So if you wish me to talk more about some specific type in a TypeScript, make sure to comment that on this video and I will make sure to release a video specific to that. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw, please click like and subscribe as I am posting new content weekly. Thank you once again and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.